What is up, Broncos country? This is the Broncos Insider. Many of you may know me from my Instagram page, which is at broncos.insider. But for those of you who do not, I will link my Instagram page down below in the description for you all to check out. On this YouTube channel, I will be pushing out all sorts of Broncos related content, including updates and news along with game and player breakdowns, cool statistics, fun facts, highlights, and outlooks, which I hope that all of you are able to enjoy because my main goal is to become your source for all things Denver Broncos related. So today I wanted to talk about the Broncos 2020 schedule and break down what I believe will be the most important and interesting games of the season. First off, we start with the Week 1 matchup against the Tennessee Titans. This is going to be the late game on the first week of Monday Night Football. I expect the Broncos to be able to win this game because they are just simply sensational in home openers. They are 18-1 in their last 19 of these games. Additionally, there's going to be a revenge aspect for the Broncos as Jurrell Casey was just traded from the Tennessee Titans to the Broncos this offseason for just a 7th round pick. Last season in this matchup, the Broncos beat the Tennessee Titans 16-0 in a game where their starting quarterback at the time, Marcus Mariota, was benched and which Ryan Tannehill took over. After taking over, Ryan Tannehill never looked back as he went on to the AFC Championship game with the Titans after dismantling the Baltimore Ravens in the divisional round. This game is so important to win because getting momentum at the beginning of the season is super important for a young team with a young quarterback. Confidence is absolutely essential, and by getting this early win, you are able to build that as a team. Next up in Week 2, the Broncos travel to Pittsburgh to face off with the Steelers. The Steelers are going to be interesting to keep your eye on this year because they do get Big Ben Roethlisberger back. Last year, despite having horrible quarterback play with Mason Rudolph and Duck Hodges, they were actually almost able to secure a wild card spot because of their elite defense. I do, however, believe that the Broncos will be able to win this game because I believe that our defense is better than theirs and that our offense will end up being able to put up more offensive points than theirs will. Additionally, the Steelers have a trend of starting off seasons very slowly. Just like the Broncos usually show up for their fans and get wins early in the season at home, the Steelers just simply don't win that many games at the beginning of the season. Because of this, I think the Broncos have a really good chance to win, and I do believe that they will. In Week 3, Tom Brady and the Buccaneers come into town to face the Denver Broncos. This is going to be cool to see because Tom Brady will actually have the chance to get rid of his losing record against the Broncos. He is currently 8-9 versus the Broncos all time, and the Broncos are currently the only team who actually have a winning record against Tom Brady. Because of this, we know that Tom Brady will have the extra chip on his shoulder, and he will be trying extra hard to take down the Broncos here in Week 3. This game is also going to be fun because the Buccaneers are filled with receiving options. They just got Rob Gronkowski to join Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after coming out of retirement. And additionally, they already had tight ends O.J. Howard and wide receivers Chris Godwin and Mike Evans. This is going to be an awesome opportunity for the Broncos to prove to the NFL how good of a team they actually are. If they can take down the Buccaneers this early in the season, they will be putting the entire NFL on notice and show that they are not a team to be reckoned with. For the next 3 weeks, the Broncos' schedule actually gets significantly easier. They travel to New York to face the Jets on Thursday Night Football in a game that should be relatively easy as the Jets are not very experienced and because of that, not very good. Next up, the Broncos travel to New England to face the Patriots in Week 5. With Tom Brady gone, they should be a significantly easier team to beat, but I wouldn't necessarily be sleeping on the Patriots. I believe that Bill Belichick is a genius head coach and that he will find a way to bring the Patriots success this season despite having to start somebody like Jarrett Stidham instead of having Tom Brady. Next in Week 6, the Dolphins come to Denver to face the Broncos. This is the game where we may or may not see the 5th overall selection in this year's draft, Tua Tagovailoa, play. And I think that we will actually end up seeing Ryan Fitzpatrick start. The Finns are a solid team, and they're much better than they were last year. But I expect the Broncos victory here, especially since it is at home in front of the Broncos country crowd. Week 7 is when it starts to get real again for the Broncos as they host the Super Bowl 54 champions, the Kansas City Chiefs. The Broncos have sadly lost 9 straight games versus the Chiefs and haven't beaten them since 2015. I think this is probably the Broncos' best chance to take down the Chiefs this season because it is at home where the Broncos tend to play better. Over the offseason, the Broncos have stocked up on offensive weapons, and because of this, I do believe that the Broncos' offense will be able to stay in the game when compared to the Chiefs' offense. Due to this, I think that the Broncos' defense will be the biggest part in this game. If the defense can do their share and be able to limit or maybe even stop Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense, then I do believe that the Broncos have a solid chance at winning this game and finally ending that 9-game losing streak against the Chiefs. The Broncos then have a Week 8 bye, which I actually really like because it is almost at the halfway point of the season, which is crucial for the Broncos because I believe that they will be able to make a playoff run this season and to be able to regroup and just get back together, resync. I think that's going to be big in that playoff push. Then in Week 9, the Broncos travel to Atlanta to play the Falcons. This was actually originally supposed to be a London game before the coronavirus pandemic canceled all of the international games for the NFL, unfortunately. This is always a team to watch out for when you have to face Matt Ryan and Julio Jones, who are one of the best quarterback-wide receiver combinations in the entire NFL. Additionally, Calvin Ridley should have a big year with the departure of Miguel Sanu and Austin Hooper, so he should be a threat to keep your eye on as well. This is definitely a winnable game for the Broncos because the Falcons' defense is lacking, and this game is going to be more so the Broncos' offense being able to take care of business because I think that the defense will do what they do. So if Drew Lock and Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, and all of them can just do what they need to do, I think this is an easy win for the Broncos. Next up, in Week 9, the Raiders and the Broncos face off, and this will actually be the first time the Broncos will be playing in that Raiders' new stadium in Las Vegas. I don't expect this Raiders crowd to be anywhere near to the extent that it was in Oakland, and so the Raiders won't have nearly that home field advantage that they once had with the black hole and all that, because I don't think that they have that super passionate fan base in Las Vegas yet. I really do expect to see a lot of orange in the stands, which I think is going to be really funny considering whenever we used to travel to Oakland, it was almost all black. So just going off of that, I think this is another game that the Broncos should be able to win. The Raiders have gotten slightly better from last season, but they're still really not that great of a team, nor have they ever really been since the 90s. In Week 11, the Broncos have another matchup against an in-division team, and this is a game which I expect to be pretty cool, as it will be Chris Harris Jr. coming home with the Chargers to face the Broncos in Mile High Stadium. This is going to be the first time that Chris Harris Jr. heads back to Mile High Stadium, and I really do hope that the crowd erupts and cheers for him. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if the crowd boos him because of the way that he did leave and the way that it seemed like he should have been able to work something out with the Broncos, considering we offered him like $12.5, $13 million a year to stay over like 3 years, and he ends up signing like a 2-year deal with the in-division Chargers for like $20 million. Because of the Chris Harris Jr. revenge aspect, this will be a fun game to see as he heads back to the Mile High City. Also, we got more revenge as Melvin Gordon is going to be facing his former team, the Chargers, for the first time. I expect Melvin Gordon to be able to go off, even if he shares time with Phillip Lindsay. The way that I think this is going to work out is I think that Melvin Gordon will be that third down guy, this receiving workhorse, while Phillip Lindsay still actually maintains a lot of those first down carries. I think that it's going to split very nicely with Melvin Gordon maybe getting 60-40, which I believe will create a lot of success, not only from Melvin Gordon, but also Phillip Lindsay. In the past, the Broncos have just absolutely torn up the Chargers in the running game, and I really don't expect this game to be any different. I believe both Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay will go off. Also, I really don't think that the Chargers have much of a chance in this game. The Chargers are going to be coming into this game against the Broncos either starting rookie quarterback Justin Herbert, who was a big-time developmental guy in college as a prospect coming into the NFL, or who's turned into a traveling quarterback in Tyrod Taylor. I'm really not impressed by either of these guys, and even if Justin Herbert ends up being good, I don't think he's good enough to actually bring the Chargers success in his rookie season. However, the Chargers do have a really nice defense on paper. I still think that the Broncos will be able to play well enough to take care of business pretty easily. In Week 12, the Broncos do have another hard matchup, though, as they do get to stay home, but they will be facing the New Orleans Saints. On paper, the New Orleans Saints are one of the most talented teams in the NFL. They just got Emmanuel Sanders this offseason, which I might be a little biased as being a Broncos fan, but I still believe that this was one of the best additions by any team of the entire offseason. I think that Emmanuel Sanders may have been that missing piece on offense that they really needed for this Drew Brees-led offense to excel in New Orleans. This is going to be a fun game. Well, maybe it won't be fun because the Broncos, I'm sorry to break it to you, they might not play too great in this game just because of how good the Saints are. I really am hoping that they prove me wrong and that they show up in this game. And if they do this, like I said earlier against the Buccaneers, the Broncos would be making a huge statement to the NFL. They would be showing once again that they are not a team to be reckoned with, that they will be a team contending for a playoff spot, and that they will be a team that will be winning playoff games. In Week 13, the Broncos have to face the Kansas City Chiefs again, which creates this Week 12, Week 13 stretch really difficult as we face two of the best teams in the NFL. Fortunately, we face the Saints at home, but this time we have to travel to Kansas City to face the Chiefs. The Broncos just overall usually don't play too great going to Arrowhead. Like I said earlier, we are actually on a 9-game losing streak against them. Hopefully, by the time we meet in Week 13, we will have ended that losing streak, but the spotlight will be on for this game. Locke will be playing in the city in which he once called home and still lives in the offseason in Kansas City. And I think that the Broncos are able to contend in this game, but the Chiefs are a team where whenever they're on primetime football, like Sunday night football, like this game, they will show up. And I think that they will be able to beat the Broncos in this game, which unfortunately may create a short little 2-game losing skid for the Broncos here. But, I mean, you can't win them all. In Week 14, the Broncos get a relatively nice break from their previous 2 games in which they faced two of the best teams in the NFL as they get to face the Carolina Panthers. Although this is an away game, the Panthers just really aren't that great of a team. They have some nice pieces like Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore, but I don't think Teddy Bridgewater is going to be good enough to be able to carry this team to much success. Because of this, I think that the Broncos are able to win. I think that the Broncos defense is going to do what they do and that the offense may even blow this Panthers team out. Next up, the Broncos travel back home and then they take on the Buffalo Bills. The Buffalo Bills are headlined by their quarterback, Josh Allen, who I actually think is a very competent quarterback in the NFL. But the biggest part of this team and probably one of the most underrated aspects is this defense. I think this is one of the most underrated defenses in the NFL with cornerback Tre'Davious White holding it down for them in the secondary. Last year in this matchup, the Broncos were pretty much shut down by this team as Brandon Allen was entering his 3rd and final start for the Broncos, and we really couldn't do anything at all on offense. The Bills were able to take care of us even though it was a low-scoring affair. This season, again, I think it will be another low-scoring affair. I think it might be one of those games where it's a low score, but it goes back and forth, and this game really could be a toss-up for whoever wins. This is definitely a winnable game for the Broncos. They just have to show up and take care of business at home. To finish the season, the Broncos have 2 in-division matchups. They face off with the Los Angeles Chargers and their new stadium in Los Angeles, which I still expect to be composed of Broncos fans, because I'm really starting to question how big the Chargers fan base really is, because it's really become clear that their fans aren't even passionate enough to show up to their games, even when they weren't really that terrible of a team. I think this is a game that the Broncos win, of course. I think that Melvin Gordon will go off against this team again. He's going to want to get revenge against his former team. I do think that Chris Harris Jr. plays well, because he will be sticking primarily in the slot, which means he's going to get his fair share of like the Deshaun Hamilton and the KJ Hamler dudes. But if he does move on to face off with Sutton, I would really like to be able to see Sutton take advantage of Chris Harris Jr. and just absolutely destroy him. That would be, I love Chris Harris Jr. so much, but this is just something that would be so cool to see, considering how it went down with the Broncos and Chris Harris Jr. this offseason. Next up, in Week 17, the Broncos finish out the season against the Las Vegas Raiders at home. Although the Raiders aren't that great of a team, they are a solid team and might be able to put up a fight against us. The Broncos could be in prime position to snag a playoff spot, such as the division title or even a wild card spot, especially since there's 3 of them now under the new CBA. And the Raiders could be doing everything in their power to prevent the Broncos from making the playoffs. I know if the roles were reversed, I know that the Broncos would be trying their hard to keep the Raiders from attaining any type of success whatsoever. I think that the Raiders will be doing the exact same, and even though the game will be at home, this could be one of those weird upset games super late in the season. I hope that the Broncos are able to take care of business and get this win to solidify their playoff spot and get ready for a playoff run. Finally, I think that the Broncos will finish this season with a 10-6, 11-5 record. I believe that the Broncos are a good enough team to be in this win total category, as they have made all of the offseason changes necessary to make this jump. I think that Drew Lock is finally ready, and that this team is going to be really good this upcoming season. Finally, I want you guys to let me know in the comment section what you think the Broncos' final record will be this season. I hope you guys enjoyed my first video. I plan on to keep on pushing out Broncos content to you guys. In case you aren't following me on my Instagram already, definitely go check that out, as the link is in the description. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed.